Hello everybody. So I talked a little bit the other day about doing, these are exercises that artists do to improve what they're doing and have a better understanding of their tools. So taking a look at my tools today that I want to work with, I'm looking at 3 different Koh-i-Noors, which is this is a 3 times 0. This is a 1, and this is a 3. So you get very fine, sort of medium, and thicker. And these lines, these boxes, are the thicker. And all I did to create this sheet was do 2-inch squares, and then I used a template, and I used my largest template, and I lined them up on the lines and drew little squares. Very simple, pretty easy to do. So it was fast and easy, and I just prepped the sheet for you. And today I'm going to have you look at the exercises from this book. If you haven't seen it before, it's older and it's pretty well known. So you probably have seen it if you do illustrations. Anyway, I photographed a page in here. Let me see if I can tell you what page number. Okay, we're looking at page number 26, and I just photocopied it so that I could easily have it next to my work table. And so in the top set of 18, they're showing cross-hatching, and in the bottom set, I don't know how many there are in this, I'd have to count them, 6, 12, 13, 14, 16 in the second one are also kind of cross-hatching, but they're done much faster. Now these are done probably with a dip pen, which would be more like this. Let's see if it comes out. It comes out. This is that kind of pen, although it's not exactly because this one has a cartridge. But it's a fountain pen style where you can spread it and it'll go from small to larger. If you can see the little split line here, this will split and give you a wider line. I'm not going to show this today. We'll work on that another day. So I'm just going to stick with my Rapidographs, and I'll show you what you would do is you would get a sheet like this, or you can take it from your imagination, depending on how you work. And then you want to I want to look at doing things in 3 different sizes. So let's just take a look really simply. These are slow drawn horizontal lines, very simple. So get my Rapidograph out. This is the little tiny one. And on Rapidograph, you just tap them and they should ink up. And you may or may not be able to see it on camera, but I always have a scratch pad next to me, old habits, and I start the pen with that. And in my case, I don't want to draw straight up because it would kink my shoulder back. What I would prefer and what I will do for you, let me move this stuff out of the way a little bit, is so my preference is going to be to turn the sheet so that I'm at like a 45-degree angle to myself. And this way, when I'm drawing with the natural movement of my arm. So in this case, I'm going to start and draw horizontal lines, roughly. That one wasn't very straight. The idea is to keep them straight. But you also want to let them do what they're going to do. Now, some lines, if you're doing longer lines, you will tend to move your entire arm in the direction of your pen. So we're just going to do this one. And again, this is a very fine Rapidograph. So we're going to show how lines that are fairly close together look when drawn horizontally. It's very simple. The more you practice these, the better you'll get at drawing straight, the fewer bobbles, unless you want bubbles. You'll gain control. And that's really kind of half the battle with any tool that you're using, is controlling the tool to get the effect that you want in whatever drawing you are working on. So this is just a simple drawing of this pen, which is a 3x0 rapidograph, very tiny. So we're going to go up in size to the 1, and we're going to do exactly the same process and exactly the same thing. So I'll just go up 1 block on this sheet, this exercise sheet, and I'll draw the same thing with a larger pen. Now this tends to be the pen I use most of the time for my character outlining. It is my go-to size. I like the way it looks and feels in my hand. I like the way it appears on the page. And so I'm more likely to grab this pen than the other 2 pens I'm working on with you today that are rapidographs. So one of the things that you consider when you're illustrating by hand and using pen and ink is you consider the fatigue of your hand, the looseness of your muscles, or the tightness of your muscles, depending on which way it's going. But your drawing will change over the course of hours of working. So that was how it looks at this scale. And then we'll go to, this is the 3. Same thing, I'm going to tap it, and then I'm going to come in on the next block up and do my horizontals. So you should do this kind of practice every time you feel like you need it, that it's going to be beneficial for you to have samples of your tools as they change over time too. You'll wear down your tips and the flow will change, particularly if you're not cleaning your tools well. And so as you saw, these are all inking well today. They are liking where I have them stored. I store them horizontal. And I have Rapido Ease cleaner that every 8 to 10 times I use the pen, I will dip the head after using it and store it horizontally, but I'll have dipped the sharp part of this. So I'll take my pen just like this and I'll put a little bit of cleaner in a separate container and I'll dip my pen head in it, and I may leave it there for a minute, maybe a couple, depending on what I'm getting out of the pen. But this will loosen up anything in the head and help you clean it, help you keep it functional, working well. So here you see the same exercise, exercise number 1, that is showcased on this page from the book. So you would go to the next exercise. Well, I'll do one more. This one I'll do with the Copic Multiliner SP, and it is a little brush. So this is going to look very different, but we'll just take the next block up. And this pen, how much pressure you use will alter from little to thick, and it can get all kinds of effects. So this is going to give you more effects like a dip pen, like a dip pen will. I can neutralize that and make them very similar. It's very easy to do the skipping. So depending on what effect I'm looking for, this gives me lots of options. So if you are drawing things like comic strips where that makes a big difference, you want to look at that. So this is what that dip pen did on a similar exercise, although I varied it a little just to show you the textural differences you can achieve. So we would go and do the next one, the number 2, which in this case it's a simple vertical line. So we're following the same practice, and we're not being judgmental of ourselves. You want to notice differences in how you feel and how good your line work is based on time of day, how much you've slept, how much arm sort of exercises and relaxation things you're doing to keep your hands and arms in good drawing shape. You actually need to feel good when you're drawing. And like I said, part of this is gaining control over your tool and understanding how your body changes during the day. So this is mid-afternoon. I'm doing laundry in the other house, and I've already had quite a few things going on today. So I'm not as fresh as I might be. And this is the kind of work I'm doing at this time of the day. So I would go up to my next pen. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. As you notice, I'm not taking a lot of time in between. I'm not fussing over trying to get perfect straightness. I'm trying to practice my lines in this shape so that I have a sample, this sample board of my efforts. And I may take and put a note with this sample board describing the time of day, how my arm might feel, or my hand, or my fingers. If your hands start feeling tight, you can work out your fingers. You can shake. You can go do dishes, something like that, where your hands are in warm water and soap, and you're using them in different ways. So again, I'm moving up to the bigger one and lining again. The more that you're relaxed, the straighter things will get. You notice I'm also speeding up a little. I tend to draw fairly fast, and part of that is I don't want to fuss over the drawing. A lot of times a newer artist may be very concerned with getting their lines straight, and you're never going to get them straight. That's something you learn. You're going to get them straight looking or not. And this pen is actually pretty fun because I know it's going to do things I don't want it to do. So some of that is wobbles in my control. Some of that is the nature of the pen itself. Because as you can see, I've done other lines here using another pen, and my control is not terrible. But if I were to just look at this patch and not know the difference, I might say, wow, I have some issues to work on. So the next one is number 3, and that is a cross line. It's where you're going this way. And I actually do these cross lines a lot on my drawings. And when they're short, they're easier because I can go really fast and just sort of go, oh, they're kind of here and kind of doing this. When they get longer, I have to slow down and I have to watch the line happening. So you're trying to look where you're going, not where you've been in drawing lines. So my eye is actually tracking to where I want the pen to end up, not, you see a big gap I'm leaving, not where it's been, because where it's been, it's already done. So you're always trying to look toward your finish. Again, when I get faster, I don't care as much. Okay. So you can see differences between where I started and where I'm at. I have more bobbles in this one than I did in this one. And you'll notice your own the own considerations of how you draw, and you're not going to be identical to me or anyone else. So what you end up with is how things are working in your world, how your body is handling what you're doing, how your mind handles it. And I'm not staying totally focused because I'm talking to you. So typically when I'm drawing things, except now when I'm trying to draw on camera, most of the time I work in silence. I don't even have radio going because I find that music can invade my thinking, and so I control for it. I don't want to have my thinking invaded while I'm working. Oops, that's not picking up. There we go. So I went away, tapped the bottom of the pen, and returned. Now, one of the things you'll notice with rapidographs is they require you to hold the pen fairly upright. For the shaft on these has a tiny needle that allows the ink to work around the needle. So when the shaft is wider and the needle stays the same, the output of the ink is more. So you may get a thicker result. If you ever own rapidographs, you will eventually have them apart, servicing them with hopeful success. They can be finicky and a pain in the butt. And like I said, any tool you use, the ones that you use a lot are the ones you're going to get good at. And anytime you introduce a new tool, even if it's a replacement tool, it's not going to handle exactly like the old one did. So every kind of new pen you get or technique you try, run some tests. These you can keep in your storage area, and you can look at them when you're considering doing cross-hatching of any particular kind. You would look to your sample. So I'm going to switch up here to one that's a little bit more dynamic. Let's go to, say, 12. And as you see, it's all squiggly lines. So we're going to do a squiggly line sample. Now, if you do pen and ink, you learn fairly fast that squiggly lines are hugely important. This is how you end up rendering plant life, that it needs to look fairly random. And so you learn muscle memory by doing these kind of exercises that allow you to quickly render bushes, shrubs, those kind of things. So I'm doing a squiggly line that's not really like what they were doing. I'm mentioning this now because I looked over and I went, oh, well, it's not quite right. This is my squiggly line that I learned from doing a lot of architecture. And I'll do a different one on the next one for you, to do another architectural one, showing you how you adapt to whatever you are drawing a lot of. And in the past, I did a lot of architectural drawing, so I developed squiggles. And there's a squiggly line. And this next one is one you use a lot in architecture, which is where you go along and you go like this. It kind of looks like you're doing a graph, medical graph or something, where somebody's heartbeat. And what I'm actually drawing is a type of roof where you have roof lines that come in. And they're very common. These would be shingles, maybe, on your drawing, where you're trying to show that these are the shingles of a roof coming down. So a roof is kind of like this, where you want wiggles and you want spaces. You want deviations from straight. You kind of want all of your rows to be similar in size, because your shingles on your roof are all seen from the same perspective. And then you might go back in. This is the other way we do roofs. And add your variations on lining. And these also give you the roof effect. So if you're rendering buildings, this is a fast but clean way to show a roof, say an architectural shingle on a house or a shake roof. So these are both variations on that. And these are things you will have specific to whatever type of drawing that you're getting into. So the other one they're showing here, and I'll go back to my board, and I'll try to do this. This is one where they're showing little sort of amoeba-like shapes in a slight curve, and they would not be the same. You want to vary the length, vary the shape. And again, you're learning how to create an unusual texture. And as you notice, I didn't continue the same row all the way around. I stopped and I went to another row. And those are just habits from my past that found it useful to vary, not only by shifting rows, allowing sort of your brain is going to try to form patterns. So when you are drawing something that should be less patterned, less even, then you want to find tricks to making that easier for yourself. So that's what you're seeing here. It's just I'm kind of varying it based on making changes in how I'm approaching it. So that gives you patterns. And then you can, I'll take the upper one here. You can go to, let's just do a squiggle. So you may want to do, and again, you'll probably want variations in the line thickness. With this pen, that's what it does. And you want to add to that by creating arbitrary spaces, which may show lighter areas in what you're drawing. So you're using the pen's natural capacity to give you kind of, you see I left like kind of a lighter area here and it's darker around it. You create that by varying what how dense you're doing it. Anyway, this is what you want to try to do, is go online or somewhere if you don't have the book, pull up some kind of cross-hatching sample sheet that somebody else has done, and then start working with your own pens to see how they respond and what they give you. And you're going to end up with a full sheet of these kind of test samples. Some are drawn quickly, some are drawn slowly. And by the time you're done, you'll know your pens, your tools a lot better. Anyway, that's it for today. Bye.